रेडी? करता हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Welcome all of you for the third day of Utkarsh's topic on the deity worship. So last two classes you learnt many things about what is Shri Vigraha or Archa Vigraha. And you also have gone through the booklet and you have done the quizzes also. So you got more deeper understanding now. And also you must have seen the drama of Sakshi Gopal by now, isn't it? Very, very beautiful pastime. You can see Sakshi Gopal. This Gopal was somewhere in Vrindavan. From there he came to Vidyanagar in South India, Vidyanagaram. So far, so far away place. He walked just to fulfill the promise of his devotee. So you can see that the deity form of the Lord has performed various pastimes in various places, amazing pastimes. So that was one of it. I told you about Madan Gopal, who became Madan Mohan, worshipped by Sanatan Goswami. I told you about Madhavendra Puri, worshipping Gopal also. I told you about Udupi Krishna, how he came to be worshipped by Madhvacharya, isn't it? So in this way, Lord performs various leelas. I can tell you one more pastime today. Recently, probably a couple of years ago, I went to Tirupati. So in Tirupati hill, I found there was one matha, one organization there called Hathiram Baba was written there. So I was curious to know more. Then I did a little more research on that. Because on the top of the hill, they don't sell any land to any organization. They don't sell. Actually, many organizations are ready to pay a huge price, crores of rupees also. But Tirupati Devasthanam, you all know very well, they are very rich people. I mean, Lord Venkatesha is very richest of the gods. He's Lakshmipati. So they have nobody can pay any crores of rupees and buy a plot of land in the top, either for making a house or for making any matha and all that. They won't give. So nobody is given. So all you find is only Tirupati Devasthanam only you find all over. But this was an exception. I found that they have given a plot for one some organization, Hathiram Baba. So I was very curious. So then I found out a very great, amazing history which happened just about 200 years ago, less than 200 years ago. This Leela has happened by Lord Balaji. So there was one Sadhu Baba, Vaishnava devotee. He climbed up the hill to come to take darshan of Balaji. So when he came to the temple of Balaji, took darshan, fell at the feet of Balaji and worshipped him with great love and devotion. And when he was leaving the temple and going, the Lord was very attracted by the devotee. He was very innocent devotee, very pure-hearted devotee. He was constantly chanting japa, calling Lord's names, and he had not even an iota of any bad quality. He was completely purified personality. So when such a person comes to worship the Lord in the temple, when he is going, Lord is also attracted. He wants to. Actually, the attraction principle is there everywhere. Like you have an ant. Wherever you keep some sugar, the ant goes running there, isn't it? Similarly, the group of ants will come to eat the sugar if it is exposed. Similarly, if a balloon is being sold, some children become attracted when they hear the sound of the balloon, apple balloon or long balloon or whatever. Similarly, if there is a young beautiful girl coming in a bus stop, then young boys, naturally their eyes are drawn towards her. They want to see her beauty. They want to know who is she and all that, isn't it? So this attraction principle is everywhere. So where is this attraction principle coming from? Originally, this attraction is in the relationship between Lord and his devotees. That is a magnetic, everlasting, eternal, pure attraction, which is pervertedly coming in this world as perverted reflections towards the matter and material relationships. So, in the pure platform, such a relation exists between Lord and the devotee. Lord and the devotee, they love each other, and they have no other medium of transaction other than pure love. Sudama loved Krishna dearly. He came to Dwaraka to just see his friend and go. And Krishna loved Sudama. He spent practically more than a week with him, putting aside his kingly affairs, spending time with his own very dear friend Sudama. He treated him as a pure friend. He didn't see his economic status. He didn't see his tattered clothes. So here also the Lord was very fascinated by the devotee's devotion. You know what the Lord did? That night when this Sadhu Baba stayed in one hut there in the top of the hill in those days. So Balaji went there in the night and suddenly went into the hut, and the Baba was sitting on a cot and he was chanting. And as soon as Balaji appeared in front of him, he was taken by big pleasant shock and surprise. He also got up and offered obeisances to Balaji. Balaji said, that's all right, you sit down. He made him sit, he sat, and Lord said, my dear pure devotee, I want to play some Shatranji with you. And the Baba said, I don't know how to play, I've never played in my life. Balaji said, you only know one thing, always chanting my names. You keep chanting all the time. So Lord said, I will teach you how to play this. And you just play with me. If you play with me, I'll be very pleased. And the devotee said, oh, whatever pleases you, I will do. If my playing game with you pleases you, I will do that for you. You please teach me what to do. So Lord taught him how to play the dice and how to move the things. And I would play, and they were playing. So every day the Lord started coming, just because Lord likes to spend time with his devotee. Simply looking at the devotee, Lord is charmed. So we can't understand in our impure stage how this is possible. In our impure stage, therefore, I always give the example of Rupa Goswami. He says that Yuvatinam yata yuni, yunam yuvatav yata. He says, oh my dear Lord Krishna, let me be attracted to you. Exactly as a young boy and young girl, they are attracted to each other's association. Simply by looking at each other, spending time with each other, they are very charmed in a conditioned souls. That is easily understandable in this world. That example is given by our Acharya, Rupa Goswami. In the same manner, the jiva's attraction for the Lord is very strong when we become very clean-hearted. Like if you purchase some nails from the market in a packet, you open the packet, it's all like shining nails, and you bring a magnet, immediately it will attract. The magnet will attract. But if the same nail is lying in your home, there is some water drop somewhere, and then it gets rusted, and it's all covered over by mud and everything. It has become very old for 10, 20 years. Then you bring it near the magnet, it doesn't get attracted because it's covered over. Similarly, we are conditioned souls, we are covered over. So we don't feel that strong attraction to the Lord. Therefore, we are chanting Hare Krishna to cleanse the impurities that are covering us. Once that impurity is removed, then we will be attracted to Him. So the devotee learned how to play, and then they both were playing every day. So 2-3 days passed like this. And one of the days when the Lord came, they both were playing and laughing and joking, and then time went on and on. And next day, early morning, it was time for Mangala Arati, 5 o'clock. In the temple, the pujari would blow the shang. Ooh, he would blow the shang. When he would open the altar, Lord is supposed to be inside. But the Lord has gone out to meet a devotee. Imagine all the people are waiting in Balaji temple and the altar opens, the Lord is not there. People will be shocked. They will think, who has stolen our Lord, isn't it? So Lord thought it's almost time for Mangalarti. Only 2-3 minutes are left. So he told the devotee, I have to rush now because many hundreds and thousands of devotees have come to my door to take my darshan. So he rushed immediately back. So Lord went and stood there. As soon as altar was open, Lord was present. But one observation the pujari made. The Lord had armlets on one side, the bracelets on one of the arms, and bangles. But in this arm, this was missing. What was supposed to be similar to this, that was supposed to be here. And that was missing. The pujari was shocked there. Why it was missing? Because the Lord missed it in the devotee's house. Night while playing with him, he removed it and kept it. While wearing it, he only wore one and he ran away quickly. He didn't wear the other one. So the pujari was searching. He couldn't find. He thought some thief has stolen it. He thought like that. So immediately the report was sent to the king, local king at that time. So the local leader sent out people to find out, some police people to find out who has stolen it. So this devotee, in the morning, as soon as he found that Lord has forgotten, Lord has forgotten. So he picked up the jewelry in the hand and started walking towards the temple. As he was walking towards the temple on the road, imagine the police is searching for a person who has stolen this. And here is the person showing it in the hand and walking towards the temple, singing Lord's holy names. Like you will find in Tirupati Balaji temple, they always sing this. Where is that? Mridanga. They sing this. Govinda Hari Govinda Venkataramana Govinda. Boliye. Srinivasa Govinda Shri Venkatesa Govinda Srinivasa Govinda Shri Govinda Hari Govinda Govinda Hari Govinda Govinda Hari Govinda Srinivasa Govinda Shri Venkatesa Govinda Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hari. So, if you go to Balaji temple, they like one person will loudly proclaim, Yedugondalawada, you will say. Others will say, Govinda, Govinda, they will say. Yedugondalawada in Telugu means the Lord of 7 hills. There. So, in this way, he was simply singing the holy name, completely lost in remembrance of Lord Balaji. And then he went to the temple. And as he was going to the temple, the police people saw and caught him on the way. And they immediately told the king, King, we found out the thief. Here is the bracelet. He was catching it in the hand and bringing to the temple. And the king told them to put this fellow behind the bars. So this pure devotee didn't say anything. He said, actually it's a fact. Lord used to come to my place to play with me in the night. And the morning he forgot to wear it, so I brought it. And the news was reached to the king. And the king said, maybe he is trying to bluff some lies to escape from the punishment, he thought. Then the king gave him a challenge. He said, in whichever jail room you have put him, arrange for a truckload of sugarcane. He said. So they arranged for a truckload. And then the king personally went and told him, see, if you really claim that Balaji used to come to your place to, play with you every day, now let the same Balaji, help you to finish the sugarcane. Let him do this miracle. If you make sure this whole sugarcane is completed by overnight, Tomorrow morning I'll come and see. Then we will release you. Like that he said. And the devotee thought, how can I eat so much sugarcane? You can eat one or two. How can I eat so much? He never bothered. Okay, whatever be the punishment. If Balaji wants me to be lifelong in the jail, I'll be. If that is Lord's wish, So he was there. So there was watchman standing and watching what this fellow is doing. So almost midnight, a beautiful transcendental elephant came from the sky. It descended there, right into the jail. Directly it flew into the jail and finished the whole thing. Immediately the servants called the king and they said, my dear king, some big powerful shining elephant has come. It is eating up everything. Please come fast. And the elephant ate so fast, by the time the king came, he saw only the waste portions of the sugar cane. All sugar cane was finished. And the elephant garlanded this devotee also with one garland, and he flew back. And there was not even a bit of sugar cane left there. So by the time the king came there, he only saw the garlanded devotee inside, and he fell at his feet and cried and said sorry to him. And then he said, now I understand, you are a God's man. And that king was the one who allotted him place. Allotted him place in the top of the Tirupati hill. So then that devotee came to be called as Hathiram Baba. So I came to know about this from Tirupati, our ISKCON temple president, Revati Raman Prabhu. So he was telling about this. This is a very, this type of pastimes the Lord has performed. Now you can see that the miracles happened millions of years ago, some few thousand years ago, even a few hundred years ago it has happened. You can see that. So Lord, time to time, as in the deity form, he performs amazing leelas, very wonderful pastimes. So let us go to this booklet, which you all solved, activity sheet. Okay, this you would have easily done. All major religions refer to God as a person. You would have marked it. I have an answer also for the quiz I can show you. You can check your answers if you wish. There's another one. Here it is there. Okay. See, like this. Hands, legs, eyes, heads, faces, everything. In this way you can see, if you carefully observe, you will find everywhere Rig Veda talks about lotus feet. Om Tad Vishnum Paramam Padam. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita explains about hands, legs, eyes, heads of the Lord. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about Saha Ekshata, glances. How can you glance without eyes? Who can say God has no form? God is creating. So, Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Om Sachidananda Rupaya. Similarly, Sachidananda Vigraha. Vigraha, Rupa means form. And we have also quoted from Bible, as you say, it's Quran also. Quran says Allah's Vaj. Vaj means face. Ainun means eyes. Even in Quran, in Bible, there is always talk about, see in Bible Ezekiel, he talks about God having a semblance of a human form. He says, God made man in his own image, it is said. It's not that man made God, God made the man. Actually, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Lord Krishna created all the 8.4 million species. But after creating all of them, he was still dissatisfied. He felt that, all these living entities are very dull creatures. They are all conditioned souls. They are only eating, sleeping, mating, defending. I want to create one body in which the living beings will be able to realize me and come back to me. At that time, Krishna decided, I'll make that form very similar to my form. And I'll make the female form very similar to Radharani's form. Therefore, he made the male and female forms. In this particular human form, only you can realize your soul and realize your relationship with God. So, therefore, because Krishna made our forms, making his own form the template. Based on God's form, our form is made like a human being, similar to him. So, therefore, like for example, a child is in the school crying. Teacher is asking, why are you crying, my child? What happened? Oh, I am remembering my mother and father, he says. And teacher says, or other friends say that, hey, why are you creating new mother and father? Why are you creating mother and father? Don't imagine anything. just be happy yourself. No, child is not creating mother and father. Mother and father are already there at home. Child already has a mother and father. Therefore, he is crying for them, remembering them. Child didn't create the parents. Parents created the child. Similarly, we didn't create God. God made us in His image. One should know this. Foolishly, there are some people in India who think that, who say, if all the dogs were to make a god, they will make one dog into God. If all the tigers were to make a god, they'll make one tiger into God. If all the swans were to make a god, they'll make one swan into God. Similarly, human beings must have made Rama and Krishna as God. Like that, some people say, as if they are very smart and very logical. It goes to show their utter foolishness, because such concocted ideas they are speaking is screwed out, is brought out of their figment of the 200 gram of gray matter. They speculate such things actually, because you will see, we don't accept anybody's speculation. We only accept Shastra. If you have to give any argument, don't speculate, don't bluff. Put the Shastric statements in the front. Which Shastra? So I am putting Shastric statement in front of you. If you want to defeat me, you have to put your statements. I say I am showing from Bible. I am showing from Quran. I am showing from Upanishads. I am showing from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And also this, I have already showed that Zakir Naik's, no? I showed it. I will show that Zakir Naik also. You have the net here. I will show that one. So you all can see this leisurely in the YouTube, but I am only going to show you a small part of it. This is a Zakir Naik defeated by Hare Krishnas. That is the video. So we will send you the link also. You can leisurely see it. Because that is one of the common arguments that Zakir Naik, wherever he goes, this is one famous statement he will keep making. Pratima, the Nayasya Pratima, Pratima Nasti, God has no form. That kind of thing, some quote he'll be making.
Creation and annihilation. We shall now defeat this opposing argument. The Chandogya Upanishad states the Itihasas and Puranas as the fifth, the Veda of Vedas.
So it goes on like this.
The Rig Veda, the Yajur and the Sama Vedas, the Atharva as the fourth, the Itihasas and Puranas as the fifth. In those verses of the Upanishad, the Puranas have been mentioned as the fifth. Therefore, it has a separate existence as the four original Vedas. So those slokas that are found in the Vedas cannot be said to be the Puranas, since they are numbered. Shaigati, the four divisions of the original sources of knowledge.
So like this it goes on. But I will show you, this is one of his arguments, which this devotee will nicely defeat it. This is the one, I think. Yeah. Lord Krishna. Here? Ahead? Somewhere it was coming here, no? Actually, I don't have the exact timing where this fellow makes that. This is the video in which you will find it. So, let us see. Correct. Here, this is the one. Okay, I'll play now. See here.
In your scripture, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 7, verse number 20, that all to those intelligence has been stolen by material desires, they worship demigods. That means they worship idols.
Idol worship is when one idolizes someone or something that hasn't been sanctioned by the Lord. The verse quoted by Dr. Naik speaks of the worships of demigods like Shiva or Surya. Even such worship, although material, is sanctioned by the Vedas. Such demigod worshippers receive temporary material rewards that ultimately prove useless. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Deity worship is authorized by the Lord, by all Vedic literatures and all spiritual authorities. All the great sages repeatedly declare that such worship brings the greatest benefit possible in human life. This is the opinion of Narada Muni, the great Vyasadeva, and my own spiritual master, Brihaspati. O most magnanimous Lord, the instructions on this process of deity worship first emanated from your lotus mouth. Then they were spoken by the great Lord Brahma to his sons, headed by Bhrigu, and by Lord Shiva Shiva to his wife, Parvati. This process is accepted by and appropriate for all the occupational and spiritual orders of society. Therefore, I consider worship of you in your deity form to be the most beneficial of all spiritual practices, even for women and Shudras. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Uddhava, there is no end to the innumerable Vedic prescriptions for executing deity worship. The worship of the Lord in his Archa Vigraha is of spiritual nature and entails loving reciprocations between the worshipper and the worshipped. I am pleased by any insignificant offering made by my loving devotees, and I am certainly most pleased when nice presentations of fragrant oil, incense, flowers, and palatable foods are offered with love. The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, manifests himself in a form that his devotee can worship. God certainly doesn't need to eat, nor to be offered flowers and incense, just as a father does not need a gift from his infant child. But love is what makes such dealings sweet and relishable, a realm of loving exchange forbidden to those who foolishly think of a formless God. When a person maintains the conception that God has no form, it is due to the Lord's covering that person's intelligence. The Lord, being fully independent, reserves the right to reveal himself to whomever he so. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, and so the deluded worlds know me not, who am unborn and infallible. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and the Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. All demigods such as Brahma, Indra, Agni, and so on possess a form made of material elements and are thus created. They did not exist before this material manifestation, and they will cease to exist after the destruction of this universe. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayana.
Okay, it goes on like that. Okay. So like this, there are many, this is a very wonderful thing. You can go through it leisurely yourself, all of you. This link we will send you. So it's valuable. All the questions that this fellow poses, they're all answered. All the questions are answered by the devotee very nicely, beautifully answered. Okay. Anyway, you can do it at your leisure. You can see it. But why I am showing this to you? Because you will see how logically it's being presented here. Just like defeating a case in the court, systematically. This devotee is just not making anything sensational or emotional. He's just presenting the facts from the Shastra. So, in this way, you see in all the scriptures about the personality of God worshipped. Okay. So, these things I have explained to you through the PowerPoint. Yeah, all this is explained to you in the class before. Yeah. You have completed all this. So I will arrange to send this answer booklet also to you, so you all can leisurely check it. You will get time to go through it leisurely. I will arrange to see that you get a copy of this answer booklet also. You can know the answers. So one thing I would like to additionally share today is about the offering of the bhoga to Lord, offering then accepting prasadam. So this is what we want to talk today. Okay, eating without how can we express our love for God? Please read it, Prabhu.
If you want peace, then you have to accept that everything belongs to God. You may use it after offering it to Him. He has sent it for your subsistence.
For example, everything belongs to Him means proposes three things. If you read that verse in the third canto, 3.11 Bhagavad Gita, Ishtan bhogan hivo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tairdattana pradayebhyo yobhunkte stena yeva saha. There he says, the grains, the fruits, the cereals, all these things, the list of eatables, spices, everything. Second list, he says, the sunlight, the moonlight, the rainwater, wind. This is second category. Third category, Prabhupada talks about manganese, sulfur, iron, gold, silver, diamond, all the minerals. All these three are creations of God through the agency of nature, and they are not our creation. So if I take any of, for example, I am building my house, I am building with the building materials like the iron and steel and manganese, sulfur, all these different materials I am using, for example. So when I am building a house with all those God-given materials, then the house belongs to whom? Materials were not created by me. I am borrowing the materials from God and making the house. Similarly, when I am drinking the water coming from the clouds, I didn't produce it, because the ocean water is all saltish. But drinking water, the sunlight, the moonlight, the air that I breathe, so I'm taking from Him. Similarly, grains, fruits, cereals, and everything I'm eating. So in this way, he says that because we are taking so many things from Him, we become obligated. For example, you are all going to college. You take education. Don't you pay money there? Is there no fee for you for studying 4 years? Is it not true? Or later on, after studies, you join a company and you do work. And for the hard work you do in the company, does the company not pay you salary? So when you do work for the company, company becomes obligated to you. When you go to college and receive education, you become obligated to college. Is it not true? Or you go to some tuition classes, to attend tuition classes, then you become obligated to tuition teacher to pay some salary for the tuition. Is it not true? As soon as you receive some benefits from some people, you become obligated immediately. Now God is giving us these three things I told you, the eatables and the other living conditions, and also the minerals, 120 elements in Mandel's periodic table. I am taking these things from God. So I become obligated. I have a debt to Him. So how am I repaying the debt? Tell me. Like I am taking this electricity light now. And for this I am paying to electricity board. But I am taking light from the sun. To whom am I paying? Similarly, I am buying a Bisleri bottle of water. I pay some 15-20 rupees for that. But if I am taking potable water from the clouds which Krishna is giving me, so what am I paying Him? Think about it. Like you pay electricity tax, you pay water tax. Is it not true? You pay for the municipality, they collect the water tax also. You have to pay for that, isn't it? So I am receiving benefits, but I am not paying back. So I become a debtor. You understand how we become a debtor? And if you have taken debt from somebody and you don't give it back to him, then we are called as a thief, because we are trying to escape from the debt and run away or something. That's what he's saying. Read ahead further.
This is Krishna consciousness. The Lord supplies everything. He will not eat whatever is given to you. It is for you to offer it to Him and acknowledge Him. Confide in Him and say, "Oh God, you have given us such nice things to eat. Please accept my offering."
Yeah. So when we pick up these things from nature, one has to very gratefully accept the thing. One should say, "My Lord, you have given 6 types of juices. There is sweet, salt, sour, pungent, astringent, and bitter. 6 types of sweets." So every one of you attending the program now, you have attraction for different sabjis, isn't it? Some of you like bendi sabji. Some of you like baingan fry. Some of you like aloo sabji. Some of you may be, liking other like paneer sabji, isn't it? But whatever you eat, you will see, eatables are ultimately produced by Him only. They are not produced by man. Man has no ability to produce any original seed. The original seed is given by Krishna only. You sow it, then you can get all the vegetables, fruits, plants, and everything. So He is producing so many tasty things and giving. So while eating them, we should remember Him. Thank you, Krishna. You are not just giving us something like a mitti to eat. You are giving us. Imagine if God created only chawal in this world. There was nothing else to eat. Chawa, chawa, chawa. Morning chawal, afternoon chawal, evening chawal. Can you eat like that? He has so much love for His children. He's thinking that, oh, my children actually want to enjoy eating nicely. So He has given you, different type of spices like the ginger, adarak, sunt. Similarly, there is turmeric, haldi. there is hing, there is jeera pud. Jeera pud means like the jeera powder, isn't it? Mirchi. He has given all kinds of things. They make the like mustard seed, isn't it? Cumin seeds. So in this way, he has given many spices. He has given oil. He has given ghee. So then the food, we can put a chunk and make it very delicious, tasty. So we have to be thankful to him because he is giving us all these things. So when you're receiving these things, we just keep it in front of the Lord and say, "Oh, thank you so much." In the nature, you are giving abundant. For every jiva, there's a different type of food. 8.4 million species have different type of food. And you are providing us food exactly fitting our tongue, what we will like the most. Accordingly, the type of food is given. Like you will see for a tiger, they eat the deer. But tiger will never eat grass. The cow, she will eat grass, but she will never eat flesh. A cow will die, but she will never eat flesh. You will see that. A tiger will die without any eatable, but the tiger will never eat grass. You have never heard any history of tiger thought, for last 2 weeks I couldn't get any deer, so let me start eating grass now. Have you ever heard that? So the tigers and lions are carnivorous, and the cows and such animals are herbivorous. Similarly, science has proved that we are also herbivores. But man has coined a new term of his own, omnivore. Omnivore, he can devour everything. Eat whatever comes. All that flies you catch and eat, all that crawls. Of course, all that flies except aeroplane. All that crawls, except the cars, isn't it? All that swims in the water except the submarines. You can eat everything else. So, therefore, man has created a ghastly future for himself by eating like that. So, when you are accepting things, then we have to thank him. Yeah, read it. Eating.
Eating without offering to God is sin.
Yes.
In Bhagavad Gita 3.13, Shri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of the material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture of deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering enables one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be. Yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving and in offering is to act with love for Krishna.
Ideally speaking, a devotee of the Lord should till the land with a bull. They have to plow the land, sow the seeds, and then you can grow bendi, you can grow tomato, you may grow brinjal, you may grow potatoes, you may grow carrots, and different type of sabjis, and flowers also. You water the plants every day, attend to them. Don't use fertilizer. Use natural fertilizers like cow dung and cow urine. If the cow goes to the field, naturally the manure of cow dung and everything takes care. And then when the crops come up, when the vegetables come, you bring them, you pick the best ones, and the rotten ones you throw it off, and then you wash them, and then while cultivating also you remember that actually I'm cultivating it for Krishna's pleasure. After getting the vegetables and flowers and everything, with the flowers I'll make garland and offer to Krishna. Vegetables I'll wash and cut and offer the bhoga to Krishna. And then when Krishna gives his remnants means after he has taken it, then he will give it to us. Only that I will accept. So that is most ideal. But nowadays it's not practical because many of the city people are city dwellers. They go for job. They have to purchase vegetables from the market, which is oftentimes spoiled by many chemicals and insecticides and pesticides and everything. Unfortunately, so many people go for purchasing organic, which is costly, more costly also. If you cannot cultivated, at least we should go to the market, and while buying sabji, we should remember, I am purchasing the best sabjis, so Lord Krishna can be offered with this nice eatable. So that means bhakti yoga. And then you, while cooking and cutting, one may be hearing the Hare Krishna music. Many of the Matajis who cook in our Rajabhoga for the afternoon for the Lord, in the deity room you will find they put on a lecture of their spiritual master, or they put on some Hare Krishna kirtans with complete absorption in the kirtans, remembering the Lord, just like the Vrindavan Vasis. They would do the Haath mein kaam, Mukh mein naam, they say, no? So, in fact, I have seen in many of the ISKCON temples they do this. When people are cutting sabji, they will sit in a big circle and they will all sing Hare Krishna. One leader will be leading the kirtan, others will follow, and everybody will be cutting sabji. Or somebody is rolling chapatis, and somebody is cooking in the kitchen. Everywhere you find that kirtan is going on. That is how the offering is done lovingly, with devotion. It is not ordinary food. It is cultivated with devotion, and cut and cooked with great devotion, offered to the Lord with great love and devotion, and then served to the devotees with great devotion, like that. Now, like here you find a big plate of bhoga is kept in front of the Lord. So how does the Lord really eat it? Or it is just our psychological understanding that, we have just kept the food in front of the Lord and showed him, that's it. It's only our own thought that Lord has eaten it. One may have a question, and that is going to be answered now very soon. Yeah. So how does Krishna eat the food which we offer him? Yeah, please.
Krishna's senses are absolute and interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature simply by his looking upon material nature.
Yeah, Upanishads say, Saha Aikshata, it says. Aikshata means Lord Krishna glanced at the spiritual world and picked up those souls who wanted to be independent. Picked the bunch of them and put them in the material nature, Durga. You must have seen the picture of Durga Mata with folded palms, and Lord Vishnu is glancing at Durga, and the glance of Vishnu is called as a Shambhu, the beam. Through that beam only the jivas are put in the womb of Durga, simply by the glance of Lord Vishnu. Now, is there anybody in this world you can look by your glance, you can do such activity? Pick up a big bunch of souls from the spiritual world, want to be independent, and put them in the womb of material nature. Lord is doing that. With his eyes, he can do that. Similarly, Lord Rama also in front of the ocean of Indian Ocean, what he did, ocean was not giving him way to go to Lanka. So he boiled the water of the ocean. It started boiling. All the aquatics were all shivering. Samudra Devata came running, fell at the feet of Rama and said, "Oh Lord, please forgive me. I didn't know that I have to give you way. I thought you are doing Naralila. Naralila means like a human being you are behaving in this world. So I am not supposed to give you way. If you want me to give way, you are the ultimate God. I can always give way if you wish." Lord Ram smiled and said, No. My devotees will make Setu Bandha now. And then I will walk over the bridge, he said. But the point is, Lord Rama could boil a whole ocean. Even if you take one glass of water and try to boil it with your eyes, you can't do that. Think about it. Lord's eyes are so powerful. He can boil a whole ocean. Or he can pick up the souls from spiritual world and put them in material world, those who want to be independent. Sometimes I have seen people do some work with their eyes, but not very great work like the Lord. One time I was in my place of birth, one village in South India. My grandfather, he had a lot of lands and a lot of cows and bulls and everything in the village. So they would bring bullock carts of those mangoes. So the mangoes would come. Those mangoes, big mangoes, they'd be in sacks. So one of the fellows will come with a big sack and stand at the door. And my grandfather will be lying in an easy chair. He would look at him and say, like that he would say. Either he would do like that with his eyes. And immediately that fellow will walk inside and put it in the godown and go. So now he moved a sack of mangoes from here to there, correct? Now how? By by the movement of the eyes. Sometimes we all do some action with a little bit of our eyes. Say, for example, I am doing kirtan. One fellow is playing the kartal's little wrong step. I stare at him little with like that. He do like this. Then immediately he'll become slow and careful. So I am controlling his wrong playing by my eyebrows or whatever. So we can do little work, but you can't boil an ocean with our eyes. You can't do that. Nor can we pick up so many souls and from there to here we can't do that. Lord can do such miraculous activities. That is the power of his eyes. Similarly, from the navel of the Lord, he is creating a lotus in which Brahma is born. In fact, when the lotus comes out of his navel, there are millions of shining Jugunu type, glowworm type, small dots. What are they? They are the jivas, all of us. They are like diamonds, shining, the jivas, tiny jivas. Amongst them, the Lord chose the best jiva, who is Brahma, and made him the father of all the other jivas. And through Brahma, he did all the work. He delegated the work to Brahma after that. But Lord Vishnu need not take help of Lakshmi to beget Brahma. From his own navel, he created a lotus in which he brought Brahma. That's the difference between ordinary man and Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Lord doesn't have to have sex life to beget children like man and woman have to do in this world. Lakshmi is sitting right at his feet. But Lord doesn't have to indulge with her to beget the child. He can himself beget by creating a lotus from his navel in which he creates Brahma. And then, so this is the meaning of Achintya Shakti. So that means one sense of the Lord can do any other activity. For example, with the lotus feet, Lord Rama delivered Ahilya just by touching a stone. Is it not true? And the Lord's hands, legs, everything is very powerful, like this eyes, every part of the body. With one part of the body, he can do the activity of any other part. For example, you keep a big plate of food. Lord can glance at the food and he can eat. In the material world, eating means we know only one thing. The food has to be put in the mouth and tasted. Only then he can eat it. But Lord can actually consume food only by glancing. That is a verse, very beautiful verse which says, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda. So it says that Angani yasya sakala indriya vrittimanti means, like for example, if I am sitting here, I can only see with my eyes up to this range. But I can't see what is on the wall. But Lord can see from here also. From his back of his head, he can see what is on the wall and tell you. That is possible for him. That is the meaning of, that means his whole body is like eye. For example, if I want to see something, what is down, I can extend my hand and hand can see down. And then hand can tell what is there down. But we can't do that in this body. Right now we are conditioned souls. Not only seeing, even smelling also. We generally smell with which organ? Nose. But Lord can smell with all parts of the body, anywhere. If something is lying on the ground, he can just put his leg and smell it also. It's possible. That's the meaning of Supreme, Absolute. Absolute Truth has senses in such a manner that with every sense he can perform activity of every other sense. Actually, it's the same for the Jiva also. When Jiva becomes liberated and goes to spiritual world, his senses are also interchangeable completely. Anything can be done with any one of the senses. Therefore, you will find when Krishna is sitting with covered boys in the bank of Yamuna, all of them are feeling that Krishna is sitting right in front of me only. Nobody feels I am sitting behind Krishna. Everybody gets a feeling of seeing Krishna. That kind of effects are there in spiritual world. See, spiritual world means there is no effect of space or time in spiritual world. That is another very big science to learn about space and time. So, did I give that article of Sadaputra Prabhu on time travel? Okay, I'll give you the article today. You can put it up. If they read that article on time travel, they will appreciate this also about space and time. So the spiritual world is a place where the space and time don't pose any limitations at all for him. So therefore, when a devotee has offered the bhoga in front of Krishna in a plate and he bows down to the Lord actually accepts it. And Krishna says, Ashnami. Now you may ask a question, Prabhuji, how do you say that Lord he ate it? If he ate it, at least half of it should be empty plate. Lord he ate half and then he's giving us half. Or if Lord is too hungry, he might have finished the whole plate. And the plate is supposed to be empty. So imagine if everybody in their home, they keep all the cooked food in front of God and God consumes it, finishes it all. What will happen to others? He is so kind and merciful that he eats it, but he is able to give back because he is God. He is not, Prabhupada was telling in one of his lectures, see, if you give me a plate of prasad hoping that Swamiji will leave something for me, I can enjoy, nice sweet, I will finish everything and give you empty plate back. Prabhupada said. But if you give it to Krishna, he will give you the whole plate back. That is because he is God. He can consume it, at the same time he can give it. How can it happen, you may wonder. Just like when you write a mail to somebody, you send the mail to that person, but you also have the mail in your box also. Correct, no? You go to the sent items, you find it. Does it mean that your mail has not gone? Mail has gone to that person, but you also got it here. Same way Lord can do. You make one plate of prasadam, bhoga, and you offer it to him. Lord has accepted it. And one copy in sent box item is also there for you. Okay, this is for you. Take it. For your reference, God gives it. So here he says, we'll read one more para. Read further.
We put our devotion in the food offering and submit it to Krishna. He accepts it and returns the prasadam with his mercy. Imagine if you give a box of carrot halwa to your friend on his birthday out of love. He will surely gladly accept it. He will return your box next day with some chocolates that is your favorite. Generally, nobody returns an empty box. Similarly, Krishna accepts our love and devotion and returns the prasadam with his divine mercy.
That is his promise. How do you know the prasadam contains Krishna's mercy? How do you know that? That there are three parts of the food, any food. One part turns into stool and urine and flushed out of the system. Second part turns into blood. The blood is circulated all over the body. And the third part is the most important, which is consciousness. I'll tell a little story, you will understand this point. One time sadhu came to a particular village, and there was one lady very eager to serve sadhu some food. So the sadhu had a program there, and then he agreed to take. So she had invited, and then she gave a golden plate, and then she served. So he ate it. And while going, when the sadhu left, suddenly the lady found the gold plate is missing. In those days, people used to serve a sadhu with a silver plate or a golden plate, with great reverence and respect. So then the lady reported to the other people, panchayat people and all. Then they immediately went to bus stand to check whether the sadhu is still there. Then they found the sadhu. And they asked the sadhu, we want to just check with you, by mistake, have you taken the gold plate? Then he said, I don't know. He said, then they looked in his bag and sure enough it was there. Then they were shocked. How did the sadhu take away the plate from the home? They didn't give him in charity. It was only given for eating purpose. The sadhu returned back to the home of the lady and asked, oh mother, please tell me, the food that you served me, did you cook it? She said, you see Swamiji, I come in a very poor family. The only wealth we had was this plate, which was given by our grandfather. I preserved it. So this is the only wealthy thing we have. Otherwise, I am a very poor woman. And she said, I work as a servant maid in different homes. And she said, they only gave me yesterday's food, which they put water in the night and keep it. In the morning, they add some salt and give it. That's what they give. But today, because you are going to eat in my home, I stole some food. A very nice pulao curry from different places. I stole and brought. And he gave. And Sadhu said, just see, because the food you served me was a stolen food. As soon as I ate the stolen food, I also stole the gold plate. And I took it. See how it affected my mentality, you can see, he said. So, in this way, you will see that, Jaisa Anna, they say, there is a saying that Ahara Shuddhav, Sattva Shuddhi. Sattva Shuddhav, Dhruva Smriti. Smriti Lambe Grantinam Vipramokshaha. This is a Shastric statement. It says, Ahara Shuddhav, Sattva Shuddhi. If you eat Ahara Shuddha, then mind becomes Shuddha also. And then Sattva Shuddhav, Dhruva Smriti. Mind becomes clean. Then you have long remembrance of Krishna. And Grantinam Vipramoksha. You become free from all bondage. All type of sufferings, you become free. So everything, the root is food, pure food. Yeah. So, please read this.
Krishna does not need anything from us except our love. For a small child, everything is provided by the father. But while eating, he offers small items to the father. My dear father, it is very nice, you taste. How very pleased the father will be. The father knows that the child is giving him his own food, but when the child says, Father, this is very nice, you eat, the father replies, It is very nice, all right, I shall eat it. This is love. How can you offer your love? Patram pushpam phalam to yam yo me bhaktya prayashyati tadaham bhakti uparatam ashnami prayatatmana. And if God accepts your offering and eats, then what more do you want? He becomes your most intimate friend. If you accept God as your intimate friend, then you need nothing more. You will be fulfilled. You will tell yourself, I have got everything.
Yeah, proper. This is from Prabhupada's lecture, as it is we have taken. So there was one fellow who came to Juhu temple and asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, you have this Krishna's Murti. You people are offering food. Does God really eat? I am doubtful, he said. So Prabhupada quoted this verse only. Tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami. Ashnami means I eat. Krishna says. So Prabhupada said, should I believe in words of Krishna or should I believe in a loafer like you? Prabhupada asked, whose word should I take seriously? So because the spiritual phenomena are all beyond our ability to immediately comprehend. Because people who say that I will only believe what I see with my eyes, they are called materialists. Materialist means one who only believes in matter. They don't know anything beyond matter. But spiritualist means he knows there are many things beyond our material sense perception. Therefore, we discussed about 4 defects. And there are many things existing which higher dimensional science is very so many things to know. So therefore, ordinary materialist cannot comprehend this. Like then I told you, like a donkey's consciousness of Bhagavad Gita. It's like that only. But those who are spiritual consciousness can know this. So we have given a quoted example here. When Krishna was coming as a Shanti Dut to Hastinapuram, at that time Dhritarashtra called Duryodhana and said, my dear son, I am afraid that Krishna will come and stop the war. In order for Keshava to come and not stop the war, I have a suggestion. Even before he reaches here, you go in another chariot. Give him a dozen woolen blankets. Give him costly diamonds and gold and silver in charity. Give him several elephants and horses in charity. Also, take many dancing girls to dance very beautifully, throwing colors when Krishna comes, to give him a great welcome at the front. Yes. Take all the Brahmanas to chant the Vedic mantras and offer a very grand welcome to Krishna when he comes. So when he has done all these things, and when he comes inside our city, as soon as he comes to our palace, offer him the best accommodation. And Duryodhana said, yes, father, we will arrange him the Dushasana's palace for his accommodation, because it's one of the most gorgeous building. We will arrange for Krishna to stay there. And then we will convince him that war is necessary. We cannot stop the war. So Vidura and Bhishma heard all this and they smiled and said, you foolish people, what are you planning? You think you can purchase Krishna with all these things? They said, if you really want to please Krishna, you just do what he tells you. If he tells you stop the battle, stop the battle. If he tells you to make agreement with Pandavas and rule the world by sharing it, do that. Don't foolishly don't try to do something like that. So, and then when actually Krishna came in, as soon as he arrived at the Hastinapuram palace, Duryodhana told, Krishna, we have arranged the best accommodation for you. Stay in Dushasana's palace. And now for the lunch, we have arranged a chapan bhog for you. Come. First you eat now, he said. Krishna said, you see, I have come for a very important meeting. I have come as a messenger of peace between the two brothers' families. If my mission is successful, then I will take your chapan bhog. I am very happy. But if my mission is not successful, I will not eat, he said. Therefore, we will first have the discussion in the palace now. After that, let's go for lunch. Like that Krishna said. Duryodhana said, no. You must eat now, first, before the meeting, because we have cooked everything. And Krishna said, what are you saying? He said, you eat in somebody's home. Why? Because either you are hungry or they are offering the food with love. Neither am I hungry, nor are you offering with love. You are fixed in your own idea of what you want to do about the war. I want to stop the war and you want to proceed with the war. Then why should I eat in your place? Because you are doing your own thing, independent thing. You are determined to destroy yourself and destroy so many people. Why should I follow? Instead, Krishna went to Vidura's home and he said, I will eat in your home, simple home. And Vidura's wife, Vidurani, actually was a great devotee of Krishna. So she was opening the bananas. And instead of feeding bananas to Krishna, she gave banana peel to Krishna. And Krishna also becomes completely mesmerized when devotees offer anything with love. He ate the banana peel like a cow eats banana peel, like that Krishna was eating. At the time Vidura came, he was shocked. I may have that picture, I'll just check it whether I have it. Very good. This is the one. See here. See this picture? Vidura is returning from outdoor. He's coming, he's seeing his wife is giving Krishna banana peel. And Krishna is also eating. And she's throwing away the bananas. So therefore it is said, दुर्योधन के भोग न खायो, रोक साक विदुर घर कायो, ऐसे प्रेम पुजारी राधे, श्याम श्याम श्याम. It is said. So he ate Ruk Sak in Vidur Ghar, sitting on a simple chatai, because Vidura and his wife are pure devotees of Krishna. So in this way you will see. Yeah. Okay. And then, correct. Madan Mohan already spoke yesterday. You heard it? Now please read this. What is the danger in ignoring the deity form?
The soul hankers to see the beautiful form of Lord Shri Krishna, and if he cannot do so, he is likely to try to satisfy himself with the beautiful but temporary things to be seen in the material world. Or worse still, in frustration he may conclude that there is no such thing as God, or that God really has no form at all.
Like that. Either one becomes a materialist or one becomes a impersonalist. If one doesn't worship the deity form of the Lord. Because in this world you will find Kutta is attracted to Kutti, Billi, Billa, Billi, Sherni, Morni, isn't it? Every body is attracted to the member of the opposite sex. If you don't get attracted to Krishna, immediately default option is that only in this world. And we are going to keep rotating in the cycle of birth and death like that. Or one gets so frustrated in material relationships also. One gets frustrated, one doesn't have trust in Krishna also. Then one goes to merge in Brahma Jyoti and then Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And for a long time they'll remain and then they fall down again to the world. Because in want of activity they fall down. Because there is no activity in impersonal Brahman. But soul is by nature very potentially very active. So he comes back again. Like that is saying. Yeah, we have discussed all these things in our... Yeah, so we have covered the notes. Now it's almost time now. I didn't have time to answer your questions today, but I can go through your questions and answer them in the following week, and you will get the video recordings and you can hear them little by little. Maybe few minutes I can answer, I think 5-10 minutes. Questions are here? These are the questions? This one? Okay. Okay, Adarsh Rajesh from Ganamaki CYP is asking. I completely agree with all that you say. I want to ask about the view of idolatry in Islam. That's where Hinduism and Islam differs greatly. No, Hinduism and Islam don't differ. They both have both impersonal and personal. Like in Hinduism also, there is Brahman. There is Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. There are impersonal worshippers who are people who read Upanishads. Many of the people are impersonless from that. Amongst Hindus also and there are Hindu demigod worshippers who are also ultimately impersonless, because many of the demigod worshippers think that the impersonal Brahman has manifested in multiple demigod forms. They think ultimately they want to merge in Brahman. But the Bhagavan worshippers are pure devotees, who never care for the impersonal aspect of the Lord. It is an insignificant aspect. They are only concerned about the Bhagavan. 14.27 Bhagavad Gita says, 7.24 Bhagavad Gita, if you read, they all talk about Krishna being the source of the impersonal Brahman. So in this way, in the same manner in Islam also, there are two categories of people. Some people worship the impersonal God. So if you go to mosque, you don't find any deity there, no murti there. But if you take the Sufis, they are all lovers of Krishna and Ram, and they are very deeply advanced, and they have written many dohes which are very popular, and they have propagated bhakti. I've heard about it. The perspective of Buddha worship of deities in Islam, they think whatever takes you away from worshipping the Lord is from Satan himself, and thus they consider idol worship as great sin. And here we believe that deity worship is actually service to their lordship and close to God, but that doesn't feel logically convincing enough. Even that way, Christians will also say Jesus once, when he came back, he saw that people are worshipping different idols of different man-made idols. Like for example, so he said, do not worship the graven images, he said. Even ISKCON is also deadly against people doing idolatry. For example, many politicians' murtis are made on the roads, you will find, in the middle of the 4 roads. You have seen that? Even Prabhupada says in Chaurangi Square in Calcutta, they made a Gandhi's putla, they made and kept in the road, and nobody goes there to bathe that idol, and nobody goes. Only once in a year on 15th August, one municipality man will come with a jadu, with a broomstick in the hand, and there will be lot of this dove, kabutar. They have put a lot of stool on the head, shoulder, all over the body. It's so dirty. And this fellow will pour water and clean their wife. Because 15th August, because everybody is going to come to see Gandhi's putla. So that is idol. That's the way the idol is treated. You can see that nobody cares for that in a public place. It's ignorantly kept. On the other hand, if you see the deity, as we described in our lecture today, the deity form of the Lord, like one man came to our Pune temple and asked, Swamiji, these deities look so attractive, so beautiful. How many times in a year you all change the dress? I said, what are you talking? In a day we change the dress twice. Lord wears one dress in the morning, another dress he wears in the night. And he said, how often you all offer something to the deities? I said, we offer 6 times a day. 6 offerings a day, 6 aratis a day we offer. So the deities are treated with utmost love and respect as per the instruction of the Lord given in the scripture. So that cannot be considered like an idol. Idol and deity, we can clearly show the difference. How much? And because the devotees are worshipping the Lord as per Lord's teachings, therefore the Lord is manifesting himself through the deities. Go to ISKCON temples and see how beautiful are the deities. Because why are they manifesting the beauty? Because the Lord is worshipped with such devotion. And you see the quality of the devotees who are worshipping the deity. How are they improving their spiritual fineness and their spiritual depth and their realizations? You can see that. So from there you can understand. So whether it is Islam or Hinduism, all religions talk about impersonal, personal aspect. It's not that only Islam says one thing, Hinduism says another thing. It's not like that. Okay. We know that God manifests in this material world on the request and is personally present as a deity. When the temple is in danger, why doesn't Lord protect his own deity? I already told this. Probably you were not there, Hemant Prabhu, in the lecture. I told this, that the deity form of the Lord comes only to accept service from his devotees. He doesn't come to defend himself. And how does he defend? How does he defeat the atheists? I told you in 2 ways. He has Kala and Mrityu. Krishna says, Mrityu sarva harashchaham. Like Hiranyakashipu was an atheist all his life. So, but his life was devoured little by the time. And the time, every atheist is also getting old and aged, and he will die one day, isn't it? He'll be struck down by death, and he'll be ejected out of his sense gratification program and thrown out to the scene. Is it not true? Can any atheist stop it? Ask that question. So, Lord comes as Kala and Mrityu, these two things. As far as like he's asking a question here, example, the Somanath temple in Jagannath were attacked many times, and deities were destroyed, and devotees were killed, and the temples were reduced to ashes by foreign invaders. There are also reasons for this, because the temples like that, where the Lord is supposed to be worshipped, sometimes it is seen that illicit sex happens. Sometimes in such temples between man and woman, some improper things have happened in the temple accommodations in the past, or the deities have been neglected or ignored by those who have been worshipping. So then because of that, the place will be ransacked by some evil forces because of the neglect of the devotees and because of the abuses that take place there. Because you will see that, and that is one of the reasons. That's not the only reason. That's one of the reasons. In the same manner, whenever there are another example I'll tell you. Sometimes the temples would hoard a lot of gold and to put for the deities. Sometimes thousands of kilos of gold. Sometimes very deadly. In the Vedic times, the kings thought, if we keep all the gold with us, there is always competition and murder and everything. So better give it to the temple. They would put for the Lord, and king gave complete protection to that temple and everything. But eventually what happened, such kings, wonderful Raja Rishis passed away, and the temples had a lot of gold and everything, but then the kings are not there to protect. So the dacoits came, like when the Mughals came, they went to some of the South Indian temples which had a lot of wealth, like Ulugh Khan and people like that. When they had a lot of wealth, and they saw that these fellows have a lot of wealth, a lot of gold, worth crores of rupees. Then, because money is, according to Bhagavatam, there are 5 places where Kali resides. You know that Dhyutam, Panam, Striyasuna, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. 5th places where people hoard gold. So therefore, in ISKCON temples, we don't put gold ornaments. We may sometimes put gold plated or silver plated sometimes, but we use simple ornament. We don't want to attract the thieves, Prabhupada said. Why do you want to attract the thieves? Kali Yuga is a dangerous age. Kings are not offering protection also. So therefore, that is one of the reasons why the temples were attacked. And also the in the Mughal rule time also, if you see, you will like Nawab Shah, for example, was a Mughal king who was ruling. In fact, at that time, Man Singh, who was also working under Akbar, he built the temple of Radha Govind temple in Vrindavan, huge temple he made. For Rupa Goswami had the Radha Govindji there. You will find like that. Then how did they allow? How did the Mughals allow that they themselves built temple and gave in certain places? How is it? Which means the Mughals who were ruling, they wanted tax from the Hindus. If somebody is ready to take lead in collecting the tax from a certain locality and paying to the Mughals who were ruling, then those areas were peaceful. You will read that when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you come to know, because 500 years ago how the situation was in India. But most of the temples attacked, as I told you, either it could be for the sake of the wealth, or it is a misuse and abusive behavior on the part of the devotees and bhaktas, and carelessness. Or, as you rightly said, there may be some fanatics, religious fanatics, who think that now we are in power, we can overpower the minority class, and we can. One thing they knew, Mughals, when they came, Hindus had a sheer population, big number of population, and they were minority. They knew very well that if you over pressurize them, then they will really go wild. So therefore, there were many areas of India which were peacefully going on as long as they paid the tax. But we should know that this question was asked by other devotees also in the past. Why were the British allowed to come in India? Why were the Mughals allowed? This is not only with India. It's every country you will find. You find in America, every country has struggled for freedom, and they got freedom also. But whether you have freedom or you have no freedom, materialism never stops. You find India is as much materialistic now, or probably more materialistic than it was in British times also. You will find the kind of materialism that is shooting up now. How much do you think people have become very spiritual minded just because they were given freedom? In fact, 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, people are far more spiritual, if you see like that. So, what lesson we should take from all these incidences? We should be very careful, and we should not attract the thieves, and we should keep our purity of any holy place that we are maintaining. And also one more thing that happens, because the Lord is like a dependent Lord, like he agrees to be bathed by us, dressed by us, decorated. So he is like a child for the devotee, like a small Krishna deity, like Udupi Krishna. If there are dangers, then devotees get a chance to express their love for him by taking him to a hideout. They give their life and soul for protecting him. So that way their bhakti also increases. If ultimately, do you think anything can happen in this world without Lord's sanction? He allows such things to sanction to intensify the situation and make the devotees become more dedicated and sincere and serious, you see. And Lord will remanifest any time when it is suitable. Prabhu, Hare Krishna, I have a doubt, as we know, Shri Vigraha is God or demigod only. So how the Muslim king became successful in that? Same thing I explained just now. Because the physical form changes the material world, and we say that, okay, what form did we have in spiritual world? We have a, in spiritual world you may be a gopa or a gopi or a cow or a kalpavriksha. We may be in 5 rasas. We are going to discuss it now. Eventually, in the next few classes it will come. You will learn more very soon. Okay? Yeah. If someone is totally in love with Krishna and totally devoted to Krishna but don't have knowledge about scriptures and makes deity according to his own imagination, loves him, Krishna, okay. He doesn't know about Pranapratishtha. Will Krishna come in the deity? You see, there are always exceptions, like Mirabai. People ask who was her guru. Okay, she took guidance from some Vaishnavas. Even if she didn't get initiation, still she is a pure devotee. There are some exceptions like that. But rules are rules and exceptions are exceptions. There may be some exception in which Lord can appear from even a devotee, the way the devotee has said. Okay, how many more questions are there? There are plenty of questions. Anyway, I will answer these questions during the week. So, Prabhuji, you note down up to this question. I don't know the number. Up to 5 I have answered. So 6th onwards I will answer in the video, and we can, later on the boys can get the answers and hear them, because I have already exceeded the time today. Okay? So the deity worship topic we have completed, and question answers you will get very soon. And next week we will proceed further. Very soon you all are going to learn about the spiritual world more detailed. That time things will become crystal clear for you. Okay? Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki